Hat, sunglasses, Pepsi, notes, sources, thick skin, check. You already know. Let's go. Welcome to Golden Blue today, everybody. This is a college football channel. So if you like college football, hit the like and subscribe button. It's that simple. Also, send gear to represent your team and be a part of my background forever. All you have to do is send it to P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina 29657. Video number 2. And yes, I am still in the car. I'm telling you, today I have been traversing pretty much the entire state of South Carolina. The only place that I have not been to today as far as South Carolina is the beach. That's about it. I've been basically everywhere else. So, yeah, today I had to do car videos. I've already done one. This is my second. I haven't been at home at all today, so I literally was incapable of doing an in-studio video today. But don't worry, I will be back in time to do a live show in studio at 8 p.m. And check us out on the Voice of College Football and the Voice of College Football West Virginia. Don't forget about the live show. Got a lot of great stuff I want to talk about. But for today's second video, this is pretty important. This is big news. So we already know that the Big 12 doesn't have divisions. The Pac-12 doesn't have divisions. The ACC is about to get rid of their divisions, and the Big Ten will also get rid of their divisions. So the last Power 5 conference remaining with divisions is the SEC. Well, announcement, breaking news. Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, has announced that the SEC will probably drop their divisions. This is a big deal. And I'm on both sides of the fence whenever it comes to this. It could be a great idea, but it could be a bad idea. Now, the first thing is, I think that the SEC, out of all the conferences, has made divisions work, to be honest with you. They've had the least lopsided divisions out of any of the Power 5 conferences. So they've actually made it work. Even this year, when Alabama was down, LSU still has a chance to make the playoffs if they win out and win the SEC championship game, even though they have 2 losses, because they only have 1 loss in the SEC. They could still make the playoffs. So this year, yes, the SEC is stronger than the SEC West. Most of the time, it is the SEC West that is stronger than the SEC East, but still, it's very close, very close. Georgia usually leads the way for the SEC East, and Alabama usually leads the way for the SEC West. But if your memory is good enough, you can remember whenever Florida ruled the SEC East, and you had an Auburn or an LSU that ruled the SEC West. So yes, I think the SEC has done very, very well with divisions. They've been able to get not just one, but multiple teams into the college football playoffs. Really no risk of a bad team making the SEC championship and knocking out the good team. That just doesn't happen. I don't think I've ever seen that happen, to be honest with you. In fact, the SEC has actually put in a non-conference winner, aka Alabama, who went on to win the national championship. So they don't have issues with bad teams beating good teams in the SEC championship and eliminating their conference from the playoffs. The SEC is basically guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. Whoever wins the SEC championship game, you're going to make the playoffs. Even this year, LSU with 2 losses, whether you agree with it or whether you don't, they're gonna make the playoffs. It doesn't matter. And with Texas and Oklahoma coming into the SEC, I'm pretty sure that they would have had to put Alabama and Auburn in the SEC East. That would have made things interesting. And you could still keep the rivalries between Alabama LSU, Alabama Ole Miss, Alabama Texas A&M, but you'd probably have to rotate that schedule more, so it wouldn't be an every year type of thing. But with Auburn moving with Alabama to the SEC East, that rivalry would stay intact every single year. And of course, the third Saturday in October, Alabama versus Tennessee, becomes a division game. Well, it looks like that's not going to happen. It looks like the SEC is going to go to no divisions. Everybody's the same. 16 teams all in the same division. I don't know how scheduling is going to work out, but I'm sure they'll figure it out. And it looks like the last domino to fall as far as conferences getting rid of divisions is the SEC. And Greg Sankey has finally bowed down to it and said, yeah, we're thinking about not doing divisions from here on out, especially when Texas and Oklahoma enter the SEC. Timetable, I have no idea. I don't know if it's 2 years from now or when it's Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC. That's when divisions are dropped. I don't know about the timetable, but I do know that Greg Sankey has come out and said, yeah, we're probably going to get rid of the divisions. That's some big time news. And today I was looking at the 12-team playoff format if it existed right now. So this is kind of 2 videos in one, if you will. And I think it looks pretty good. This is going by the current playoff rankings. So this is not projecting who they think would make it. This is just as of right now. The Week 12 playoff rankings, this is what the 12-team playoff would look like. I think it looks really good. There's some very interesting matchups in here. Some familiar matchups and some matchups that we haven't seen yet. So remember, the first round, you get a home field advantage to the higher seed. And then in the second round, top 4 Power 5 champs get a bye week. The 6 best conference champions get an automatic bid. So all that stuff is in play. So here we go. The first matchup is number 9 Clemson at number 8 Alabama. Yes, this is a home game for Alabama if the 12-team playoff were to happen this year. Hey, we're all familiar with this, rivalry. I'm going to call it a rivalry, even though they're not in the same conference. This has turned into a rivalry, and of course, the first time that they would meet in a 12-team playoff year, if it happened this year, would be a matchup in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, if the season were to end today. This would be a great matchup. I would love to see it, and I think they're still evenly matched. Both of these teams are having a down year. I think Alabama is eliminated from the playoffs. Clemson needs some help, but they can still get into the playoffs. So I still think it'd be evenly matched in Tuscaloosa. I think Clemson could compete at a high level. I do think Alabama would win this game since it's in Tuscaloosa. But still, great game. We've seen it many times. Give it to me again. I love that matchup. And of course, the winner of that would go on to play number 1 Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. So Alabama probably beats Clemson. Alabama plays Georgia again. How many times have we seen Alabama versus Georgia in the SEC Championship game? Great matchups. And in the playoffs and in the National Championship. Once again, we'd see it this year if the 12-team playoff format existed. So yes, I would have number 1 Georgia beating number 8 Alabama in the quarterfinals in the Sugar Bowl. But I'm sure it would be an interesting game, and of course, we would all love to see it yet again. Time for the bottom half of this bracket. Number 5, Michigan taking on number 12, UCF in Ann Arbor, Michigan, because Michigan would have home field advantage. I guess this matchup does sort of intrigue me, but I think Michigan would be all over UCF. So I think that they're assuming that UCF does win the AAC and they would be the highest ranked group of 5 champions, so they would get the automatic bid. But the 12 seed against number 5 Michigan, this is a bad matchup. Michigan would be all over UCF. So I'd have them advancing to the Rose Bowl against number 4 USC. Oh man, what a great matchup. I think this is evenly matched up here. I think Michigan has benefited from a very soft schedule and USC has a dynamic offense. Who would win this game? Well, if I had to pick the winner, I would still probably go with Michigan. Michigan does look really, really good. We're going to find out a lot more about them when they play Ohio State. In this particular matchup, I'm going to take Michigan. So yet again, another rematch in the semifinals of the playoffs. And that's number 1 Georgia against number 5 Michigan. And of course, I'm going to take number 1 Georgia over number 5 Michigan. Probably would be a good game because Georgia's not as elite as what they were last year. But I still think they're just a notch better than Michigan. So I would have Georgia coming out of the left side of the brackets going into the national championship. So now we're on the right side of the brackets. And we have number 10 Utah at number 7 LSU in Baton Rouge. This home game for LSU. I don't think Utah would stand a chance. First game of the year, we saw Utah struggle on the road to Florida. This is a whole different animal. This could potentially be a night game. A home night game in Death Valley for LSU. Sorry, Utah. You just don't have a chance. I would have LSU moving on to the Orange Bowl to play number 2 Ohio State. Unfortunately, LSU, I think having to play Utah in the first round and Ohio State being a little bit better of a team, I would have Ohio State moving on to the semifinals. So the bottom half of this bracket, number 6 Tennessee against number 11 Penn State in Knoxville, Tennessee. Yes, Tennessee all day long. Probably big over Penn State. Sorry, Nittany Lion fans. I do think you're a good team, but the 2 decent teams that you played this year, you got controlled. Tennessee could be better than even those 2 teams that you played. So yeah, I have Tennessee all over Penn State in this first round matchup. Tennessee would move on to the Cotton Bowl against number 3 TCU. And even though TCU would have a bye week, I would actually give the edge to number 6 Tennessee. I do think Tennessee is just a little bit better than TCU. This could be one of the best games of this entire 12-team playoffs if it happened after week 12 this year. But yes, I would take number 6 Tennessee to advance to the semifinals to play number 2 Ohio State. Who would I have win out of that? Wow, that is a coin flip. But you know what? I think Tennessee would have momentum. They're a good enough team. They're going to have just as many fans show up as Ohio State. So yeah, sorry Ohio State fans,
I would pick Tennessee to go on to the national championship to play Georgia in the rematch. And since this isn't in Athens, this could be a great game. If I had to pick a winner of the rematch between Georgia and Tennessee in the national championship, if it happened in this 12-team playoff format, I would actually pick Tennessee. Number one, it's very, very difficult to beat a really good team twice. And number two, Georgia would not have home field advantage. Give me Tennessee to win the national championship if the 12-team playoff format existed this year. There you go, Rocky Top. I would have you as the national champs. So let me know in the comment section, number one, what do you think about the SEC dropping divisions? Number two, if the 12-team playoffs format existed this year, who would you have winning the national championship based on the seedings after week 12? That's all I got for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next show.